It's game day here on the Cowboys Report as the Dallas Cowboys host the Detroit Lions in a critical Week 17 matchup. Both teams trying to, keep their chances for better seeding, in the Cowboys' case, the NFC East, alive, and fighting to prove some narratives wrong about beating the good teams this season. Now, if you want the Cowboys to beat the Lions later tonight, which we will be live for, then like the video for me right now. Again, I will make note, we filmed this video before the final injury report came out. Some updates for you guys leading into the weekend and our holiday time since, we're working New Year's Eve and New Year's Day for you guys. Rico Dowdle, ankle injury. That is trending in the wrong direction. Went from limited to did not participate Tuesday to Wednesday. That is a red flag. Chuma Edoga also suffered an apparent toe injury between the end of Wednesday's practice and the end of Tuesday's practice and the end of Wednesday's practice. So status uncertain there. The Cowboys have offensive tackle depth. They're also out of game day call-ups for Malik Davis. So that's a red flag for Rico Dowdle. We continue to wait and see on Johnathan Hankins and the Tyron Smith status. If Carl Davis is called from the practice squad again, he's got one more call-up left. You will not see Hankins go. Zack Martin did not participate at Wednesday's practice. That was due to rest, so I'm actually not worried about him. On the Lions side, Brock Wright again did not participate with his hip injury, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Taylor Decker downgraded from limited to DNP on, again, Tuesday to Wednesday. The groin injury there is a significant red flag for them. So both teams on left tackle watch right now. And we'll see if CJ Gardner-Johnson is able to return. He's currently on IR, but has been practicing, making his way back. He is one of the best trash talkers in football. Let's move to the top 5 matchups. On our previous preview earlier this week, we focused on the offense. So we'll go more defense heavy. Dan Quinn facing up against Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive minds in football. And you are now facing, for the 5th straight week, a playoff team, or at least a fringe playoff team. You've gone Seahawks, Eagles, Bills, and of course the Dolphins. The Lions are a playoff team. We'll see if Seattle ends up getting in. In this month sample size, the Cowboys defense has been terrible. There is no way around it. You can look at EPA and success rate, 2 very good metrics that sometimes can, have some false equivalency in terms of individual players. It's still good in that area, but it's great for the overall health of your offense and defense. The Cowboys' defense is 27th in EPA per play, 29th in pass EPA per play, 20th in rush EPA per play, and 30th or tied for 30th in success rate. The last month, this elite defense, overall, there's been moments of very good play, do not get me wrong, but overall, this so-called elite top-tier defense is significantly closer to being a bottom 5 defense. Now they're facing one of the better offenses in football, which has shown some issues against teams that can attack you like the Ravens did. This game has the potential to get out of hand in Dallas's favor, but the defense has to at least start strong. So does the offense, to be fair. The defense has not played well. And it's not just the run defense. They've been gashed through the air as well. Not only that, this defense struggles against motion. Great stat from John owning. Overall this year, they are 8th in EPA per play. When facing motion or shifts, they drop to 20th. Now, there is some, noise there because, some of the best offenses have used a bunch of motion. Well, that's also because the good offenses do, and Miami does it, and San Francisco does it. Eagles don't, but the Lions, the teams you're probably going to play in the postseason like motion. Again, they're a good team. Got to find a way to rise above it here at least a little bit. We'll go quickly here on number 2. It's Mike McCarthy versus Aaron Glenn. I trust the offense matchup much more against this Lions defense. I think it's only fair if we point out the same stats for the offense. Overall, not as good as they've been at the beginning of the year. Their rush offense still has issues, but 8th in EPA per play, 2nd in success rate overall. That's still really good. Terrible game against the Bills, not enough against the Dolphins. Good results against Eagles and Seattle. Again, you're playing a not great defense this week. Offense should show up. What is your confidence level in beating the Detroit Lions? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. It's the pinned comment on today's video. If that ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. All right, number 3 top matchup here is the run defense against the Lions running backs. Obviously, much has been made in recent weeks about the way your run defense has fared. Understandably so. Disaster class performance against the Bills, better against the Dolphins, but if you could have just stopped late and maybe if you don't have a brutal face mask penalty. The Lions have the best of both worlds in their backfield. We can argue the level of investment or whatever, but Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have very real chances of putting up 1,000 yards each this year, despite missing some time with injuries. David Montgomery, he is the physical power runner. He's the guy that might give your defense issues because they can run the ball up the middle and be powerful and punch you in the mouth. And then you got Jahmyr Gibbs, who is absolutely electric, and he is very dynamic and tough to tackle, which gave you issues against the Buffalo Bills. That is going to be a key one for Dallas. On the flip side, Jameson Williams has speed. The 2 best playmakers on the Lions passing game are Sam Laporta, who, by the way, the Cowboys had as their number 1 tight end in this most recent draft class. He was in consideration. Eventually came down to Mozzie Smith and Matthew Bergeron. But they had Laporta as the number 1 tight end, not Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer or whoever. And Amon-Ra St. Brown. Both guys mostly spend their time on the inside, mostly in line for Laporta, plenty of slot reps. Amon-Ra St. Brown does get almost 50-50 inside-outside. He moves around enough that it's viable, and you'll see some multiple tight end packages for the Lions, and they get creative with where he lines up, etc. These are awesome football players. And your weakness this year has been along the spine of your defense, like the middle. It's been your safeties and linebackers, which was a problem because that was supposed to be between your team leads in the safeties. Who covers Laporta? Is it Wanye Thomas? Do you see some J-Ron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, Damone Clark, Marquise Bell? Is it Jordan Lewis or Deron Bland on Amon-Ra St. Brown? Will they, or maybe Stephon Gilmore? I almost wonder if you need to put Deron Bland on Jameson Williams given his speed, at least when he's on the field. Maybe it's a rotation or whatnot. Jordan Lewis will spend some more time on him. These are the 2 playmakers that you worry about the most if you're Dan Quinn. These guys are really freaking good. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, choose more than or less than, and see if you can't come out on top. I am a big fan of the flex play. You just have to get 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, whatever, right? And you can watch those winnings roll in. 9 of my last 12 flex plays have hit. My picks. We've talked about this a lot. I love the matchup for your passing game. Let Dak deal more than passing yards this week. Cooper Kupp, more than receiving yards against the Giants defense. And Johnathan Taylor, less than rushing yards. 72.5 against a run defense and defense overall for the Raiders that have, in part because that Chargers game, has actually been really good the past few weeks under Antonio Pierce. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. We're going to double down on what we discussed earlier this week. Give me CeeDee Lamb against this Lions secondary. As you guys know, I am a massive fan of Brian Branch. He has been awesome for the Detroit Lions, mostly playing a kind of nickel overhang role that's been really impactful, and man, I wish you had him on your team. He can't cover CeeDee Lamb. There's nobody on this Lions team that can match up one-on-one with CeeDee Lamb. Frankly, Lamb should be force-fed. Just like you should have done against the Dolphins, and he got away from him for really no reason. Lamb's numbers this year are awesome. He is on the verge of putting up the single greatest season in Cowboys history in both catches and yards. If he should get catches this week, maybe not yards, but then next week if he plays, if there's something to play for against the Commanders, he should be able to get it by then. I think he's 3-180 from the single season marks. Extra game, sure, but you also didn't feed him enough in several of those key games. So which side of the ball right now do you guys trust more? O for the offense, D for the defense. Let's talk players to watch. Number 5 is Jordan Lewis. Now, him on Tyreek Hill didn't go that well because, well, Tyreek cooked everybody he faced. Didn't cook bland because he dropped what could have been a 90-whatever-yard touchdown pass. But, hey, it didn't count, so it's fine. Ball kind of drifted onto it in the wind. But he was great against the run. I thought that was, especially in terms of that, like, tackling stuff and run defense, might have been the best game I've seen from Jourdan Lewis since the Alvin Kamara Saints game. You guys remember that one? He was awesome in that game. His numbers this year are fine. Not a ton of plays on the ball, a couple touchdowns allowed. Completion percentage for nickel corner will always be higher. Coming off what, for a while, they thought was a career-ending foot injury. It was that bad. It's been an impressive year for Jourdan Lewis, but come playoff time, it's not about, hey, yay, he's playing and he's back and that's awesome. He's got to play well, and you're in playoff time for Dallas. Now, we will be live for the Cowboys-Lions game this Saturday night. Jimmy Johnson going in the Ring of Honor. Sub, so you don't miss out. Player to watch, number 4, Tony Pollard. We mentioned all of the run game woes, and Pollard does get at least some of the blame, although I would argue the scheme and the offensive line blocking is a significant factor in that. I would like to see an attack that does not try to force feed their ground game in this one. If the numbers are there, it's fine. You can check into runs, but I think this offensive game plan should be the initial play is the pass, check to the run if the numbers are super light, because they're just not running the ball effectively enough. Tony Pollard, entering last week's game, was one of 2 players with at least 50-plus scrimmage yards in each game. That streak was snapped. I still kind of wonder if they went with the Hunter Lipke fullback dive disaster, because they were mad that Pollard didn't score there and they were kind of punishing him, which, I get. But maybe just let Rico Dowdle, who's been actually very effective in short yardage situations, just get those touches instead. Although Dowdle's banged up, and now you start to face some issues up front with your running game. Just don't lean on it that much. You can't, unfortunately. Do not force feed Pollard. So grade the running game this year. It's not very good. A, B, C, D, or F in the comment section. The best plays have been the receivers and the quarterback keepers. It's not a good sign. Part of the reason why your running game is an issue is that you had a great run-blocking right tackle who's gone from, top 5, top 10 that area to below average. Terrence Steele, return to play is different than return to form. Terrence Steele has crossed the return-to-play barrier. He's played all year, which is quite impressive. Terrence Steele and Lyle Collins suffered the same knee injury at almost the exact same time. Terrence Steele's played 1,000 snaps this year. The results have not been really good enough. Lyle Collins has not signed, and I kind of wonder if that might be it for him, because I don't think the medicals checked out well on those meetings he took. But Steele's quality of play has not been good enough. And now you get Aiden Hutchinson, who is he's going to be a high-energy guy who typically gets one-on-one matchups because of the way the Lions like to blitz and blitz off the opposite sides and do some funky stuff there. So you need Terrence to be locked in. Whoever starts at left tackle, by the way, don't leave guys unblocked. I'm not asking for that much. Just don't get tricked or panic or whatever. Number 2, if you can't tell, we're kind of in the call-out portion of today's show. Damone Clark. Remember how I always say don't use tackles as a metric to determine if a player has been good or not? Hey, Damone Clark's got 100 tackles this season. Yeah, that's a lot of tackles. Doesn't mean they're good tackles or quality tackles. That face mask penalty was brutal. The Lions can run the football. They'll probably try to, because if I were the Lions, I'd run the ball a lot too. The Cowboys defense wants you to pass. That's where they are best, despite some woes of late. I think the Cowboys should adopt more of a gash or be-gashed approach, by the way. Be just super aggressive and bank on the turnovers, because you're not really a good enough down-to-down team if they can run that football. I need Damone Clark to play better. The breakout year has not happened, and you can still have long-term faith, that's fine, but I'm going to playoff push. I need good play. So name a player who you need to see step up. Sound off for me in the comment section right now. Number 1 player to watch. We make a very big deal about Mozzie Smith, and that's fine. He's a first-round pick. I totally get it. I need to see more from Osa Odigizua. The first 6 games this season, breakout year, baby. He's going to get so much money. He's balling out of his mind. Under 200 snaps. 18 pressures, really good numbers there. 5 TFLs, 3 sacks. There's been some moments since then. He was great against the Commanders and then the Seahawks as well. But 363 snaps in the last 9 games. He's got fewer pressures, fewer tackles, fewer TFLs, fewer sacks on a significantly more amount of snaps. He has not been the same guy since the beginning of the year, despite some flashes of it, and that is a red flag. I need to see more impactful play. I would love to see, Osa gets a great tackle for loss on 2nd and 5 to make it 3rd and 7. I feel like I haven't done that in weeks, if not months. So there's a lot of call-outs here. What happens when you're on a losing streak against 2 good football teams and playing a third, admittedly at home.